Welcome everyone. Been a while, we're all seeing each other, and we're going to talk about the green paper. I have to tell you, it is quite long. The green paper, even in easy read, is about over 50 pages long.
Good grief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what we've done is to concentrate on a small part of it. And at the end, and during the meeting, we will be going into rooms, and then at the end of the meeting, we might we'll be asking people to look at the green paper in their own time, in their own group, and feedback to us near the end of September. Okay. All that has to be in by October. Okay.
Okay. I was going to say, if people want on the camera, they can turn the camera off and turn the mute off. That's what I was going to say to you, right?
Thanks, Corinda. I'm actually going to do that now. You're stealing my job. Typical.
Oh, sorry, what was that? What can they do?
I was just going to give some housekeeping. And I was going to say, if you could all go on mute when you're not talking, that would be really helpful, so we can all hear what everybody's got to say. And I'll try not to mute anybody, because I know sometimes people can't get back off it. But if there is background noise, I might have to, just so we can all hear what's going on. If you've got,
I was going to say that as well.
Thanks, Corinda. If you've got a question or something to say, it would be good if you can raise your hand by going into reactions and doing that, and I'll call on people, and I'll try and be really fair and make sure everyone gets a chance to speak, because there's quite a lot of us on the call today. If you can use the chat and put your IDs in there, that might be a good thing to do, so we can get round everybody, and we can then check all that everyone's written afterwards and make sure it's included in our report that we write. As Gary was saying, there's loads of stuff for us to get through today, and we picked just a part of the green paper to talk about. So if you've got a long story that you want to tell us, you know, if some of the details really important, it might be a good idea for you to write that down and send it to me afterwards. And then we can make sure we include it, but everybody still has time to speak today. So that would be really helpful if you could help us work like that. And like Pat was earlier, keep us to time. This session is an hour and a half today. I know it's normally on a Thursday, we only do an hour. So if anyone needs to leave early, then that's fine, and you can just disappear whenever you need to, and we won't be offended. There is probably going to be lots of ideas flying around today, so I'm going to ask that everyone's really respectful of all the different ideas, and that, you know, we treat everybody really politely. And as you'll have all heard, when you join, we are recording today's session. So we're going to record what happens in the breakout rooms as well. But in the breakout rooms, that's just going to be for me to listen back to afterwards, so I can write up our report. The only thing that will be shared is the things that are said when we're all together. So I hope that makes sense. If you want to knock your camera off because you don't want to be in the recording, that's fine. But you're very welcome to leave it on too. And I think that's all my housekeeping. Yes, Corinda.
Okay, when you say about breakout room, I'm reporting currently you can't report in the breakout room. You can report on here, but the breakout room reporting won't work. So if people like
I've already sorted it out, Corinda. Don't worry, I'm on the ball this week.
She's on the ball.
I've tested, I've Googled it to see how we have to do it, and I've got somebody who's going to be in each breakout room who's going to try and record it. And if that doesn't work, then they might have to help us write some notes. But I've got my fingers crossed that technology is going to be helpful today.
Right.
So, Gary, we're back to you.
Sorry, I'd got my hand up.
Oh, sorry, Becca, I can't see you. Go ahead.
Just to say apologies, I've only just come. I'm eating my dinner. I've only just got back from swimming.
That's okay. Don't you worry.
So, yeah.
You haven't
I'm
missed
glad you're
anything.
here. Yeah, just me waffling. Right, Gary.
What is a green paper? Well, the first stage of creating a new law or policy is to make green paper. It's not green as everybody might think, but this is something they do in within the House of Commons, and it goes back and forwards to the House of Lords, and it goes out also to the general public to get people's ideas. Now, this green paper will then later turn into what they call a white paper, which comes officially a new policy. Government, as I said, government will make suggestions and share ideas. Public gives their feedback, and we will be sending a report to the government about what LDE members think.
You can come in.
All right, so that's what will be happening. So it's important that you have some real brainwaves. We like to have some good ideas. Now, the government thinks the green paper is about looking at how the benefit system can meet the needs of disabled people, and that they want to know how they can be better and be improved, and also to build a system that enables people to live independently and move into work. They want to make sure that's better and improved. They're also looking at if money is currently well spent to make sure the system is effective and sustainable in the future, so it's able to continue and be better every year. That's what it's mainly about. And next, there is a lot in the green paper. We are going to focus on the benefits system in the future, employment, and what else you think is important. Now, those are the three things we're going to be talking about. We'll be going into breakout rooms to talk about this. So it's important to really put your brainwaves, get some brainwaves going. Okay, next.
Thanks, Gary.
It's yours.
Yeah. Corinda, can you just wait till we finish explaining this bit? Is that okay? So for each of the sections, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things they talk about in that chapter of the green paper. So you've got some idea of what they're thinking. I don't know how many of you have done any reading. And there's maybe quite a lot of information there, and you don't have to remember all of it. It's just to give you ideas and prompts of things you might want to talk about. And then we've got some questions, and I'll put those in the chat as well when we go into the breakout rooms, so that you've got them there to remember. And yeah, you can share your ideas with us of what you think. So the first thing we're going to talk about is benefits and what we want them to look like in the future. Oh, Corinda, is this a question for now?
No, like Mark put in the chat, like like Mark put in the chat.
Okay.
Okay.
That's great, Mark. We can talk about that when we go into the breakout rooms, because I've got that here at the top. The context of talking about benefits in the future is that we know they're not all working really well now for people. So in the last 10 years, we've had universal credit and PIP introduced, and they've been new and to try and fix some of the problems, but they've not fixed all of the problems. We also know that there's going to be a lot more people claiming benefits in the future because people are living longer and because there are more disabled people. So the government knows that the cost of everyone having more benefits is going to go up, and that's something that they're concerned about. They know that people are still confused about what different benefits are for and what they're entitled to, and that having different application processes for each benefit means that people spend a long time applying for them and are often telling them the same information over and over again, and that can be really frustrating and creates a lot of anxiety. We know that when people try to start work, that coming off your benefits or them changing because you started work can be very stressful, and that people worry that if they lose their jobs, it'll take them a long time to get back on benefits, or that if they start working, then they won't have as much money as they did on benefits. And the government is talking about how they can be more flexible when things like that happen and maybe have a grace period. So that means that when people start work, they might still get benefits for a little while. So it's not, they don't just get cut off straight away. They're also thinking about maybe having a new benefit where we just have one kind of benefit and everything's included in that. So you maybe just have the universal credit bit and PIP is part of it. They haven't said a lot of detail about what that would look like. And some people think it's a really good idea because it would make it easier. You only have to apply for one thing. But other people are a bit worried about it. So they're worried that if the assessment goes wrong, then they don't have other benefits to fall back on. So that's some of the things people are talking about around that. So we'd love to hear what you think. And one of the last things they're talking about is when we talk about the extra costs that people have because they're disabled, if that could be paid more efficiently than being given it in cash. So if we could give people equipment maybe instead of giving them money. So this is a bit like Motability. So if you get a Motability car, you're being given the car instead of being given like a cash payment, and they're wondering if something like that could work for other parts of people's benefits. So that was a whistle-stop tour. I hope that makes sense to everybody, not just talk too quickly. So the first questions we want to ask is, how can we make the benefits system simpler? How can we change the benefits system to make moving into employment easier? And should people receive goods and services instead of cash benefits? So that's that last little bit. Just keep it on. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Okay.
Thank you. So I was going to ask for one person from each group to share one important thing, and if we could, everyone could go on mute as well. That would be good. Hear some background.
Rachel, we can't unmute ourselves though.
I know, that's okay. You and Joanna are all right. Don't worry. Would anybody like to volunteer?
Can we go first? Because I really need to go to the bathroom. I've drunk too much tea. I apologise. We'll do ours first, and then I can disappear for a couple of minutes. I was going to ask from our group for Ben to talk about what we were talking about the last question, because that was a really strong opinion in our group about whether people should get goods and services instead of cash, and what you said, Ben, in the group, what you thought about that. He's on mute.
Okay.
Yes, I don't think they should do that. Though I think they should just give you the money there, because it'd be like, oh, you can go and get a suit and a pair of shoes, and that's your money for the week, sort of things. It's like they're giving out. You're going to a charity shop and they're giving you out charity stuff, isn't it? Though.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what was the phrase you used to describe it? Can you remember?
Ooh.
I'll remind you, Ben said he felt that doing that, giving people physical things and services, was benefit cuts by stealth.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, I mentioned that
Yeah.
earlier. But it will be, yeah, it's all benefits. cuts by
Yeah,
stuff,
you're
yeah.
right, Ben.
Yeah.
And
So-
then what they'll do a few years down the line, they'll cut that as well.
Yeah, well, it is. I think they should keep PIP and employment support allowance separate because they're two different things. PIP is for personal care, has nothing to do with work at all. This should not even be, PIP should not be even included in this.
Thanks.
You're right, Ben.
Thanks, your whole group. Anyone else's group?
Anybody want to come from our group?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I can see a couple of hands. Should we go to Christopher first?
Yeah.
My group was discussing about the information what the right should be made easier to understand and later to read and have pictures on the form, and it should be made simpler.
Thank you, Christopher. My little group was talking about that as well. People still don't quite understand what some of the things mean, and that makes it much harder for them to get the benefits. Gary, was Christopher from your group, or who was in Gary's group? Would anyone like to share?
Yeah, me. I was in Gary's.
You were in Gary's group, okay. Gavin, you just had your hand up.
Yeah, simpler forms to fill in.
That's a good, easy step, I think, isn't it?
Forms need to be simpler.
You can see thumbs up as well. People agreeing with you. Thank you, Gavin. Tim, who was in your group?
Yeah, so our group, we talked a lot about how awful it is to have to go through all the forms, and they're usually based on deficits or based on how bad things are and how terrible having a disability is and all that. And you've got to do that to get the money, even get a badge, blue badge. So we talked about a potential solution is something called universal basic income, which is a thing that everybody in the country gets, so a benefit that everybody gets. You don't have to apply for it. If you have got a disability of any kind, you might get a bit more to kind of come to make up for that. That would get away from people having to say how bad their lives are. And so that was another bit of it. And anybody from my group, feel free to chip in.
Lisa was from my group.
Can I?
You're good remembering.
Yeah. Gary?
Go on, Pat, you share.
I was in Tim's group, and I've got something to add.
Go on.
One of my suggestions was that what we do is all over Britain, sorry, all over England, because Britain's bigger than England. Okay, all over England, we should get people with learning disabilities and people with physical disabilities, maybe have separate meetings or separate questionnaires, and the government sends out questionnaires to all the people in England with a disability, with a learning disability and a physical disability, and ask them to fill it in. Or get organisations that work with people with learning disabilities and people with physical disabilities, different organisations, because they don't all work with people with physical and learning disabilities, and get them to send 2 people with, obviously with support, and meet up with the government. And the government works with people with disabilities to change this bloody system, because it's crap. You need people with disabilities to make it right, because they know what they need. And it doesn't affect me, because I'm 74 years old, so I don't got work. but I care about other people, all the young people that are coming up now. What do you think, everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, it's been tried and tested though. We've spoken to the government before.
Yes.
I mean, that's why they have select committees.
Yeah, so like I say,
I agree with what you said.
Oh, I think there's lots of us trying to speak at once.
Yeah, one at a time.
Should we go to Iffy, because I think she's responding, and then we go to Natasha, and then we might move on? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Put your hand up.
Yeah, like I say, this thing has been happening for years, and it comes to a stage you get sick and fed up. You just want to move on and hope that you can get the news, because it's not working anymore. People have gone horribly wrong. I mean, that care system is not going right. It's long dead and gone, because people are yearning for help, and that help they're not getting it.
No.
Thanks,
And
Iffy.
there's a much one can push themselves. That's why I think it's good to just carry on and hope you can get that. But if not, that help it isn't there, and it's not good, because a lot of people have got so many disabilities. It doesn't matter whether it might not be crippled or disabled or whatever. It could be some kind of severe mental disability. But people don't look into that, which is sad. So it's like the world we live in is a vicious cycle. It's tearful, and it's made people, a lot of people give up hope.
Hi, I'm in a meeting.
People have just given up hope.
Thanks, Iffy. I think lots of people are feeling very anxious and sad, confused about all these things that are happening. So thank you for sharing that. Becca, I can see you've got your hand up as well. If we go to Natasha first, and if you both give us a quick point, and then if other people want to say things, you could maybe put it in the chat if you can. Sorry, Natasha, I muted you a second ago.
It would have been really easy for all those people on long-term disability living allowance, which had disability living allowance for life, that they automatically, when PIP came, were automatically put on PIP, and there was never that transit period.
No.
Because what happened was a lot of people who were on disability living allowance for life and were never ever going to get better, like people like me, then had to go through try to get PIP, and they couldn't get PIP. A lot of them couldn't get PIP because of the questions, and then a lot of them were left without help that they desperately needed, and even to this day desperately need. And I think it's disgusting. And also the forms are so hard for people to fill in PIP, that you need to go to somebody who like works in the benefit office just to get them filled in, otherwise you won't get it. I don't think it's fair.
Thanks, Tash. I'm going to take one more point from Becca. I can see that other people have their hands up. So if you can put it in the chat, that would be really helpful. Or you can maybe stay and tell me at the end if you can remember it then. But I need us to move on, otherwise we're not going to get a chance to talk about everything. So Becca, one last short point from you.
It's just a point, it's been covered, but it's the fact that you know, the care system's just, and social care is just in a mess anyway.
So I suppose it's all these systems are quite connected, aren't they? We're talking about them maybe separate things, but they're all very connected.
Yeah.
Thanks, Becca. Okay. I'm sorry we don't have more time to talk about these things. I think we could probably just talk about one chapter for an hour rather than trying to squeeze a couple of bits in, but we will jump on. Gary, we're back to you.
Yeah, they're also talking about making employment support better. One of them is about having a job, also about access to work. Now, does everybody know what access to work is? because I use access to work, that pays towards my having a PA, and it also helps to pay towards resources as well, and also for me to stay in a overnight hotel the night before. We finding these things out, so that is important. And also about talking about disability confident employers. How many disability confident employers are there? Also, we're talking about getting a job, work and health program, and Kickstart. They are certain programs you can get onto. Assessments to get into jobs, like the job centre, and work capability assessments, and work coaches, and that is all the sort of things that they want the government want to see better. Has anybody got any comments around employment, getting a job?
Hang on, Gary, before you ask for comments. We're going to go back into the breakout rooms.
Oh,
so
right.
I think if we save them for then, because otherwise we won't all get a chance to speak. So these are the questions for in the breakout rooms. And I can't see them because I've got too many things on my screen. So what has getting employment support been like for you if you've tried to get a job, and what's been good about it and what could be better? So we could also, just have a chat around some of the things that Gary's just spoke about there. So if you've had experience on like an employment support scheme, or if you've tried to get a job and a company's not been very helpful to you, you could maybe share that too. So we're going to go back into the breakout rooms and do the same again. So we're going to have 20 minutes, and you're not going to come back in the middle this time. I'm going to set you there for the whole 20 minutes.
Are you sure about that? Because technology behind the scenes, they're not very good, are they,
Well, I'm trying, Becca. I think I'm
Thursday,
there.
Friday itis. Yeah.
I think you're right, Emily.
Them that operate it haven't got a clue what they're doing.
Well then.
Trying.
Yeah.
Right. Here we go. Give me a shout if you need any help. I hope you all had plenty to talk about. I know that we did in my little group. We've only got 10 minutes left because
is that it?
We've all we had too much to share. And so I wonder, rather than us sharing ideas now about what people said, we could maybe spend the last 10 minutes on the last little bit that me and Gary came up with. Does that sound okay?
All right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rachel.
Yes, Pat.
Is it possible after this meeting finishes at 4:30, can whoever wants to stay on, because I think there's some things to share further on.
That's fine. If people want to stay on, you can do that. And we'll spend 10 minutes doing a quick last bit. So
right,
are you doing this bit, Gary?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
Right, it doesn't matter. What else is important? Well, they do say about local advocacy support. Well, I'm not sure if they said about self-advocacy.
Right.
So we're not saying what they're saying in that. And what should support for young people look like? I know Pat is very interested in this area. We want to know what young people support should be, and how can we make assessments better, because assessments could be very torturing and very difficult and upsetting for people.
But they don't have to be, Gary.
They don't. You're right, Pat. So
No, that's it. Well,
those are some of the things that were also in there that we thought were really important, and that you all might have an opinion on. So I thought for the last 8 minutes, I'm going to give you. Would you like to quickly share things that you think are important that we tell the government in our report back to them?
Yeah.
Or anything you think's missing if you've noticed in the paper. Okay, so you've got 8 quick minutes to do that. Gary, are you telling everyone this last bit?
yeah. Well, you can, what next? You can download the Easy Read.
Yeah.
And it's there. And if you also, if you've got any comments of anything in the rest of the green paper, to send to Rachel by the 16th of September, the latest. We need to.
Oh, that's a lot. That's very early.
That's very early, isn't it? Yeah.
And we need to submit your ideas to the government, which closes on the 11th of
9th
October.
Okay.
Okay.
Could you send us that in an email, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We will write a report and share it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Rachel's going to do a lot of that.
Have you just
So-
nominated her then?
I think I was nominated before. But yeah, so we're going to put together all of your ideas. So everything you've put in the chat today, everything you've said, and anything else that you send, or if your organisation has a response that they're putting together, you can send that to us as well, and we can include bits from in there. So anything you want to send, get it to me and I will include it.
And anything that's missing in that green paper, send it to
Yeah,
Rachel.
anything that you think is missing. So
Sorry, right, can we email it to you?
yes, that's fine.
There you go, we can do that together. Yay!
Great.
Well,
So
speak to
I'm going
Gary
to say
about
a big thank you to everyone who's come and said things to us today. One second, whoever's talking, I'm going to say a big thank you for everyone for coming. And if you need to leave now, that's fine, and you can get going. If you want to stay and keep talking for another 15 minutes about this, you are welcome to stay.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
I'd like to stay for another 15 minutes.
Okay, so anyone else can go. You are very welcome to leave now.
Bye.
Leave it.
Bye.
Well,
Thank you for coming.